Okay, I'd like to call to order the Parks and Trails May 21st, 2020 meeting. Roll call. Meister here.
Christensen here.
Strahler here.
Nybo here.
And
Did you hear me?
yes. And we got John. Did you get John?
Present here.
Okay, awesome. Okay, we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance together. Wait for the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
and
for
to
which
the
it
republic
stands,
for
one
which it
nation,
stands,
under God,
one nation, under
indivisible,
God,
with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to hear that recording.
I'm no kidding.
We're all synced up there.
Yeah. We do much better in person.
Yeah. Okay. Agenda approval. Brad is going to walk us through.
Yeah, so Chair and members, so thank you for joining us on the Zoom meeting. It's our first one here. It feels awkward at first, but I can tell you after having a couple of council meetings as well as a planning commission meeting, it starts coming a little natural. Instead of commissioners actually chiming in individually, what I'm going to ask Commissioner or Chair Meister to do is she'll actually say your name and then you can say here or present. So she'll go down the list and just say in order versus you guys jumping in when you think no one else is going to talk. It's a little awkward that way. So just for that. We have a couple of public comment opportunities that are on the agenda. So we have open forum as well as a public comment opportunity. Jess, is it just at new business or do we have more than one later on? I don't have the agenda.
It's just at new business.
Okay. So at those times, we'll ask if people want to join us and speak by dialing *9 on their phone. They can call in and listen to the meeting live right now. So anything you say is going out there live, and of course it's recording, and we'll post it as well. At this point, Jess, is anyone joining us besides Paul from Lennar?
No.
Okay, so we'll just know that at the time. We might just say there's no one joining us. We can verbalize that and acknowledge that. And then same thing with the votes as far as the roll call. Statute requires a roll call vote for electronic meetings. So as much as we probably can say aye by raising your hands, Chair Meister will actually have to go down the line and ask for your vote individually, and that's a statutory thing. So that's that. So any questions from the commission before we get going?
Okay. So first of all, I'm going to ask if anyone would like to make any amendments to the agenda. Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. A second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Roll call vote to approve the agenda. I say aye. Christensen?
Aye.
Dugan?
Aye.
Nybo?
Aye.
Streller?
Aye.
Okay, the motion has passed. The minutes of the February 20th work session. Would anyone like to make any comments, or does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the February 20th work session minutes.
Motion to approve.
Anyone? Okay, Val?
Nybo motion
Second?
to approve.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? I say aye. Christensen?
Aye.
Dugan?
Aye.
Nybo?
Aye.
And Star.
Aye.
Okay, the motion's passed. The minutes of the February 20th meeting. any questions or comments on the minutes of the meeting? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the February 20th Parks and Trails meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Chair Meister, didn't we just do the minutes prior vote, or did I miss something?
That was the work session.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Val, a second?
I'll second.
Awesome. I say aye. Christensen,
Aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Nybo,
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay. Open forum, public comment opportunity.
There is still no one else on the call except for Paul.
Okay. All right. Repeat as necessary. Okay, number 6, presentations. There are no presentations this evening. Okay, number 7, unfinished business. There are no unfinished business topics this evening. Okay, 8, new business. Public comments opportunity.
There is still no one else on the call aside from Paul.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to the preliminary plat for Tavera. And Brad is going to give us a presentation
so-
and a staff report,
Yep,
or
just,
the staff report.
Yep, Jess, if you want to pull up the PowerPoint, and I will say, Kendra created this PowerPoint, and I did not have a lot of input into it, so I'm probably just going to read most of it, which I apologize for in advance. I'll try to add some color to it, but I'll stick pretty close to the script. And then Paul Tabone from Lennar is available. We chatted briefly before the meeting. He's available for questions. He doesn't have anything that he specifically plans on presenting unless maybe he hears something. But so it might be best for I can present. The commission can ask questions at that time if that works.
Okay. Sounds
So with
good.
that, next slide, please, Jess. So the application, as you see in your packet, is for a 549 unit development. This would be our largest development. When Ravinia came in, it was 426 homes. I think it's closer to 450 now with a couple added additions that were attached to it. Just for reference, Bellwether in Northeast Corcoran was 398 units, so very large. The difference here is it's a mix of homes, so it's not only single family. Well, I guess Ravinia has some villa as well, but this also has twin homes and townhome units. And it's proposed as an 8-phase development. Now that doesn't mean it's going to happen that way. Ravinia was 9 phases, and I think it's going to be 15 when it's all said and done. However, like I said, there were a couple additions as well. Next slide. So this is the location on, you see County Road 116 running north-south. On the south of the development, that's Hackamore Road, or the border with Medina. And then it goes all the way up north to where, you know, where the gated community essentially is, across from Shamrock Golf Course, and then nearly over to Strahler Road. The parcel that's further to the west, or sorry, Old Settlers. The parcel that's over to the west is actually in the Rockford School District as well. So this is 2 school districts, Wayzata and Rockford School District.
Mm.
This is the 2040 Comprehensive Plan for Parks and Trails. There's a blue arrow that's really tough to see, thank you, that points to down that direction. We have planned on-road trails on 116 and Hackamore. And just remember, by definition, on-road trail doesn't mean it's on the roadway itself, it's following the road. So picture County Road 19 trail that sometimes is right up to it, but oftentimes has a green buffer there. So those are planned. And we also generally had a north-south off-road trail in this area connecting northward. In this map, it shows a little bit more on the western side versus the eastern side, but this development is proposing to put an off-road trail through it, which we support, and I'll go into that a little bit further. The other thing I'll mention right here, you'll notice that there's no planned neighborhood parks in this area. We have a neighborhood park north and west of here, And this development does propose a park, a small park inside of it, which we support as well. So those are the parks plans we have from our comp plan. So this says it, I should have waited for this slide. Thank you. So again, you have the on-road trails and then the off-road I just talked about. So right here is mentioned the Three Rivers Park District alignment. So as you know, you were part of the proposed Diamond Lake Regional Trail Corridor, which this summer will go into the planning process further. And that's a trail running from Rogers down to Lake Minnetonka, essentially going all the way through Corcoran. And one of the alignments they looked at is through this development, just knowing it was taking place, and there was a proposed off-road trail running through. The only real difference in the corridor is Three Rivers requires a 10-foot wide paved trail where we usually do 8. So with this application, we are requiring a 10-foot wide trail to accommodate that Diamond Lake Regional Trail Corridor if that alignment is selected. There's a year or so of input, I mean, not quite that long. I think October of this year, the council will be looking at maybe an approved alignment for that. Next slide. There's some changes outlined in the packet, some minor shifts on sidewalks, just so we have less conflicts. And then a mid-block crossing improvement where the off-road trail would cross one of the roads, some sort of enhancement there, and those are outlined in the packet. And then the developer is building all the trails in this development. So if we have questions on these specifically, we can pull up some maps potentially, but it was really at the staff level, really looking exactly where every single sidewalk connection went and what side of the street made the most sense. On the sidewalk side of the street, we have parking on one side of the street, and then fire hydrants are on the opposite side of the street. So that's how we have to plan for water resources, essentially. Next slide. So as mentioned, Lennar is showing a proposed dedication of a park, 4.06 acres. Just for reference, Wildflower Park is about 5 acres. However, the usable portion is not much more than 1 acre. So this actually would be quite a bit bigger as far as usable area. And then we would be looking at a small parking lot in this area as well. So this would be the centralized park, and we'd make sure we'd have access from other areas as well. So with the plans, we're requesting, as I mentioned, that a parking lot, small 6 to 8 stall parking lot be installed, and that the trail, currently the trail comes straight down and then straight east-west on the south end of the park. Our thought is, from a staff perspective, that that trail should kind of meander through the park and have a better experience. So that's the mention there. And then add a connection between 2 of the homes that are noted as lots 256 and 257. As far as a PUD, which is planned unit development benefit, we're asking the developer to provide the access to the park itself with a driveway or a smaller road of sorts, and then parking, as I mentioned earlier, as well as grading. Next slide, please.
Isn't it on to the next slide?
Oh, sorry,
on your end?
it was slow on my end. So park dedication is a complicated formula, but essentially it comes down to land and or cash, or cash and or land, either way. And with the 4 acres is deducted. However, with 550 homes and our amount is about $4,600 per unit on top of the 4 acre park, the cash due is about 1.9 million related to this development. So this is why we have these plans in place. So when these users come in, we can afford to do projects such as maybe the trails along county roads or the investment into a city park. So the people that are using these systems help pay for it as they come into Corcoran. So with that, I know it's a big development, a lot of pages in the packet. At the staff level, we've been poring over it for several months at this point. Concepts came in last year, I think. And we're also better at this now. When Ravinia came in, it was our first development, and we didn't, we had to learn a lot, and we've implemented those items into this development here so far. So with that, I'll leave it. Happy to answer as many questions as you have. The applicant is available as well.
So I have a quick question, if I can talk.
Can I also note that I believe Alicia joined us, but it says that she is muted. So Alicia, I'm going to try and unmute you. Otherwise, if you want to try and unmute as you need to. give it a go.
And Sharon, you're muted as well if you're trying to talk.
Okay, so my question is, I should probably know this, but the developer recommends the park versus the fee, and then we can go back to them and say, no, we maybe want more park or less park, like the land portion of it, right?
Good question, and I'll backtrack on that. We as a city really can only require park land dedication if it's on our comp plan, and that's why the effort we do to make those maps comprehensive is so very important. So for example, if there was a planned park on this area, we could require them to give land to do that. In this case, they're actually proposing an additional park we do not have on our comp plan, that's 4 acres. And we get to determine whether we want to have all cash only or really a mixture of land and cash. So we at the staff level feel we really support it. It means 550 homes. And if you picture where that other neighborhood park was north and west of here, and you picture some Star Trek year down the road and have, 500 homes in each quadrant around that, you're talking, 2,000 homes for one park. So we think adding this 4-acre park makes a lot of sense. But then in addition, the 1.9 million is due beyond the 4-acre park. So it's cash, it's dedication, land, and cash. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And I'm kind of asking for the future too. So if we could possibly, I think 4 acres is probably quite a bit for a park, but in theory, we could say, hey, would you consider, we can't force them to, but we could say, would you consider doing 5 acres? Is that?
Yeah, I will say we've pushed at the staff level pretty hard to make it the size it is. I think it was a little smaller when it first came in, and those adjustments have been made. 4 acres may sound big, but parking is going to take some land, and topography won't be perfect. So I think it's appropriately sized. I don't know if anything bigger would get us much more than we'd want to put in the size park. But if the commission feels that park should be larger, you certainly can recommend to do so. We feel from the staff level it fits pretty well.
Okay, good. And then lost my train. If I think of it, I'll ask it. Thanks though.
I got a question. Do we have a map that shows kind of where the Three Rivers Trail might line up with this development? I know, as I recall, we talked about it was like on the west side. That's.
Jess, can you put up an image of the development and I can walk through that?
I have to find the right page.
That's my first page.
This one I think will work. Does that work?
That works, except now I'm realizing that I don't have the ability to drive and I have to do this all radio style for you. So we start at the north, the top. That's the extent of the development. And actually that's where, if you can picture, Blue Bonnet is north of that, that connects to Larkin Road. That's a lower maintenance road that eventually this would connect to Larkin Road with a city road. So just to the right of that is where the trail comes through. Thank you. So it's all behind the homes. And then this is the crossing. So when we talk about crossing enhancement, we're specifically talking about this area where it would cross the street at this point. Then it would head to the east. Again, jump down to the backyards. In between the existing trail lane neighborhood and this neighborhood with, it's a nice size corridor there. This is the park where I talked about changing it to meander through the park. Jess, do you want to show the lots 256, 257, where we're showing where we think an extra connection should be? Right there. So we think that's a nice connection point that should be added to the park. And then it would jump further out. At this point, I'm actually recommending that the trail be extended and cross closer to the roadway, a little further to the right or east. Actually really almost at the sidewalk point there, Jess, right there. And that's just because if that's gonna be a park entrance road coming in, I think the crossing should be at an intersection versus midway through a park road. I think that's a safer crossing point. And then it would bounce back through that outlot in the backyards again. And so there's a portion there that is on the road. There's a lot of wetlands in this area, so it's really nearly impossible to have it go north and west of there. So that's why it's on the road there. And then it would jump again behind those homes and be in backyards. Nope.
Oh, I see.
There we go. Yep.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
And then at that point, it would connect with our Hackamore Road trail. And we're talking about where it goes to Medina. So likely it goes westerly from there and jumps down into Medina and further. But that's something the city of Medina has to walk through on their plans, and we only can control what we can control. But I think it's pretty good in that almost all of it is off the sidewalks and trails, and it is backyards. And if you picture a lot of Three Rivers trails, that's kind of what they're going to end up being in the future. There is a planned portion, just big picture, in central Corcoran, we'll call it. Three Rivers would like to use the rural nature and undeveloped nature to put some pretty wide corridors for the Diamond Lake Regional Trail, where you'd have 100, 200 feet wide and have like almost a prairie experience. In this area, you certainly wouldn't be able to have that super wide experience, but I still think it'd be a good trail. So hope that answered the question.
It did. Is that map still there though?
I can pull it back up.
Sorry, just up at the north where it came through, does it go down the street for a little bit on street K, it looks like, on the north end? Kind of close to where you're.
Comes out and behind the houses and then
Right,
it
right
crosses
before-
and then here for a
Okay.
little bit.
Okay, so it
then
goes down the street there also for a little bit. Okay.
I mean, if you've driven by that area up the north, that wetland complex on north is gorgeous. So I think that'll be a really nice trail to wrap around that.
Okay.
Is there a development in Medina just south of here right now?
Mhm.
Is that something that maybe we should reach out to them and say, hey, we're putting our trail here. Where are you guys putting yours?
We are. So all the cities are engaged with each other in the planning for Diamond Lake Regional Trail Corridor. In addition, we're actually working right now on a Hackamore Road Improvement Project with Medina. So we're talking about this area almost weekly. So there's already been a ton of conversation, and that will continue. So yes, it needs to match up.
And then what was the total cost of Wildflower Park?
Playground was 80,
Five.
about 85,000. I would say about $100,000. Maybe a little more than that. If you got wood chips, we got to do picnic tables yet.
We have benches though. I don't
we
know
have
if
benches
they've
now.
gotten put out though.
So I'd say as $100,000. We talked about should we have a half court there or something else. We're talking about park dedication later, but I believe in our future parks we have planned for something like, was it $250,000 for a small neighborhood park or something like that?
Okay, so if this is 4 acres though, if we're 100,000 into Wildflower, this is rough math, 400,000, right? Approximately. Now maybe it'll be a little more, or maybe even a little less because we have scale, but that's kind of what we're thinking.
I haven't thought that far ahead, but I'd say easily double Wildflower, I think would be a good starting point. If Lennar, are paying for the parking lot and driveway in, that's a significant boost because that costs quite a bit of money.
And I think this is a good place for a park, but I'm just trying to think ahead. If we're getting 1.8 in park dedication, we got the land, we're going to spend $400,000 to complete this park. Let's just think about what's the opportunity cost. Would we rather push that and make the big park more closer to a reality, right? Or that's just something to kind of keep in mind, I think.
Brad, could I talk about the woodlands on the property? Okay, I noticed in the report there were 45 acres of ecological significant woodlands, and they saved only 21 acres of that. And I was wondering if we'd be able to negotiate any more of the trees being saved on that parcel before it's approved.
Yeah, so it's a complex situation or conversation to navigate. The comp plan has done a really, really good job of identifying areas that we think are special. And then on the other hand, we have a policy level where we do not have a tree preservation ordinance whatsoever. So we don't have any really legal tools to navigate. You must keep these things. I know the Parks and Trails Commission for several years has been asking the council to consider such approaches. There just hasn't been a willingness, or really a desire is the better word, to require private property owners to keep their trees for the city's enjoyment when it's their own property. So that's been really the discussion. So it's negotiation. At the staff level, again, that's been going on for quite some time. We've had them change their proposals to accommodate more and more. I think if there's a couple really specific areas you feel are really valuable, I think that's a good fight to put up and a good recommendation to have. Then it's up to the council and developer. The developer is stuck a little bit in that they also need to meet our minimum densities. So we require a minimum of 3 units per acre, and they're barely at that. So it's those things where it's the balance of they have to meet our density and they have to make money and do their project as well. So, but if there's a couple areas that the commission feels very strongly about, that's your role, absolutely.
Okay. It's probably because there's so many wetlands that they have to put the homes in a certain area, and the density, I don't know, I'm saying this wrong, but it's probably because it has a lot of wetlands on it.
Yeah,
That they
Corcoran's
have
about
to
20.
cut down the trees.
Corcoran's about 25% wetland, so that's certainly part of it.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can well, I guess you do deduct wetland from the density calcs, but there's also grading. When you're grading sites, the amount of cost and work it takes to go around a tree here and there, it's difficult to do. So it's
Yeah.
I had a question. Give me 1 second. There was something over about possible like entrance or whatever by lot 507. I got my pages highlighted. Give me a sec. I can't remember. It was written in there though. I think it's close to like 66th or something like that. Off of 116. Do you recall that, Brad?
I believe there's a proposed monument sign for the development at the entrance across from 66th and 116. There's a proposed city welcome to Corcoran type monument area further south.
I think that was Ixnade.
Just if you go down a little bit. Which lot did you say?
507.
507, so now up a little bit.
To the north.
Oh,
Here, I found it. Staff recommends that plans be revised to add additional sidewalk connections from the townhouse, from development, I'm sorry, plan 116. The connection should be made generally from the townhome area and a second connection near 507.
okay, yeah, so what that means, that's actually the connection to the trail. So right now, there's only a connection out from this development across from 66th or down in Hackamore. And those are half-mile spacings. So what we're recommending is there's an additional connection up there, and then southerly another connection point from the townhomes. So it'd be 4 connections in the mile or whatever it is.
Okay, so 2 kind of along 116, correct?
2 additional, yeah. So you'd have the main entry point, Hackamore, and then 2 additional. So kind of quarter-mile spacing.
Right. One's up by that Outlot K or whatever. Does that sound right? What kind of right where the park is?
If you look at the screen, so it would be closer to across from Old Sturbridge. Would be kind
Yeah,
of.
that's that lot 507.
Yeah.
And
And
then
even,
one down off of Hackamore, which almost goes straight into the park, right? And then one up in the northwest corner. And then where was the 4th one? Coming from the south, maybe?
well, I guess what I'm saying is there'd be 4 along 116. So starting from the
Oh.
south, you'd have at,
You want to, from the south, sorry.
sorry, either way. So that Hackamore Road.
Right.
Actually, even just on the Hackamore Road Trail, Jess. So you could come out the development from Street A. Sorry,
This one?
Hackamore 116.
Yeah.
So that's one connection point to the future Conroe 116 North-South Trail. And then an additional point at the north end of the townhomes, I believe, there. So we're,
This.
I'm not sure exactly, but somewhere near those townhomes.
Okay, and which numbers are the townhomes? I guess that's the one I think I'm missing. Those are,
These, right, Brad?
Yeah, but I don't know which lot it would be
Okay.
near.
yeah, I'm missing that one if it's there. I didn't catch it.
No, and it's not there. We're saying in our report that it should be there.
Okay, because it is listed for that near lot 507 connection.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. We're saying it should exist.
Correct. But there is not one by the townhouses and you're suggesting it?
Correct.
Okay, but it's not in our paperwork.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Any further comments or questions?
Yeah, I actually have one more question. So on the value of the land at,
Oh, you muted.
there, okay, how's that?
Better.
Okay, so the value of this land, if I'm reading this formula right, is about 450,000 of the total amount they have to give, right?
I'd have to pull up the calculation, but keep going with your thought process and I'll follow along. Hope you're muted
Okay.
again out there.
Yeah, okay, so when's the last time we've kind of reevaluated this formula? Because that's a lot of value, and Lennar is pretty incentivized to have a park there. Like, they want a park for these 450 homes. We're kind of giving a lot of value based on these 4 acres. I'm just, this is kind of in general, like this is for this development, but in general too, like these people want these parks here. It makes their community that much more attractive. Should we be negotiating better rates on this?
Well, park dedication is formulaic and it follows statutory what you can and cannot do. So we actually have the city assessor each year updates land value in Corcoran. And that's inputted in our park dedication calculation and pumps out the numbers. So this is our valuation for the citywide of Corcoran. There has been times when a developer comes in and says that value is far too high for what we're doing, for example, Rockford School District. And they can do their own appraisal and prove that it's lower, and that lowers the percentage a little bit. So that's kind of a negotiation there. In this case, they're giving us essentially what they need to, whether it's land or cash. It's a value that they need to give us per our fee. So if we wanted more park, they would give less cash. It's very formulaic that way.
Right, yeah, but didn't you say that we could take all cash if we wanted to?
Correct. And then that's why I feel at the staff level, as much as the developer feels it's an amenity, I do too. I think it'd be good for our community.
I also do too, but that's why I was getting to that formula, is say, hey, if we said, you know what, we'll take all cash, what's stopping the developer from saying, well, we still want a park, so
Oh, I see what you're saying.
we're either going to do it ourselves, or how about we do 50% of it or something, right?
Well, if that's what this was the case, it depends on whether that would be a city park or not. If it's a developer's going to pay for it, is that going to be a private park for Tavera residents only? So then the people living in Snyder, Elm, and Trail Lane can't go to that park? or people that live in Old Sturbridge can't bike over there and play. So I think that's something to think about. I don't know if they'd want to do that because they'd have to maintain their own private park. But
Okay.
that'd be part of the discussion, I'm sure.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Is this what you were looking for, Phil?
Yeah,
just-
yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
It was the delay.
Okay, any further comments or questions?
But just reiterating that this would be a community park that we would maintain just like we do over at Wildflower, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we would have to go through another wonderful park planning exercise and dog and pony show and presentations and design work. But it would be some future phase. Sorry, my dog just got into something that I don't know that's about. I don't know what phase it would be in as well. So it probably would be, several years down the road.
Does the developer have any contribution to the ongoing maintenance of the parks? Or is it just all on us?
For the park proper, it is us. The outlots so for example, if you think Ravinia,
Yep.
if you have the entranceway on Gleason Parkway coming through,
Mhm.
that parkway is a city right away. However, they're doing landscaping, they're doing irrigation, all those things to kind of help maintain that area. And that's really part of the homeowners association or HOA documents that we haven't seen yet. And that provides the detail on who does what. But the park proper would be ours to maintain.
Okay.
Okay, any further comments or questions?
And just to be clear again,
Okay.
what we're looking for is a recommendation on support or lack thereof for what's in the packet, which is a combination of land dedicated credit for the 4-acre park, the credit for the 1.8 acres of trail, and then the rest to be cash in lieu, about the 1.9 million there. And then also just sharing if you support the few additions or changes that we at the staff level feel should happen to. And I guess if you want, do you want to see if Paul from Lennar has anything to add, or do we have him speak only when spoken to and be quiet?
Okay, what do you think, everybody?
Yeah, if Paul is in
We got 3
there.
minutes.
Great.
Hi, Paul.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Yeah, so Brad has done a great job kind of outlining the requirements or the recommendations that Kendra had put into the report. I did talk to her about some clarification items earlier today. One thing that I wanted to note, and she and I have talked about this, is before the report was written, she didn't have the net calculations of the site. We got that to her yesterday, actually. So she actually did a really good job and got pretty close, just kind of eyeballing what was going on. She got within 10 acres of the net. So the net is actually a little bit lower when you extrapolate out some of the wetlands and some of the roads. So she does have that exhibit now, and we would revise that moving forward. So the 1.9 million cash in lieu dollar amount isn't super accurate. It's close, but it would be revised prior to planning commission. I did speak to her about that earlier this afternoon. Other than that, I'm happy to stand for any questions. We'll look at the shifting of the sidewalks, mid-block crossings. I talked to her about a couple of different access points, including the one near lot 507 out to the trail on lot 116 or County Road 116. There was one thing, Brad, in your presentation. I don't know if I saw it correctly or not. So I read in the report that it's typical policy, and I know we've done it with Ravinia, where we build an 8-foot trail with a 20-foot easement, right? Were you saying that those trails would go to 10 feet? Was there something in there about that?
Correct. Yeah, and I think it's in the staff report too, notes from Kendra. But if this is going to be the Diamond Lake Regional Trail Corridor, Three Rivers requires a 10-foot wide trail instead of an 8-foot wide trail. It does not increase the easement size. So 20 foot is just fine.
Okay, so we would still be able to, my thought was if we're getting tight in the backyards, we don't want to start encroaching into people's yards. So if the easement remains the same and it's 20 feet versus an 8 or a 10-foot trail, then I think we can probably figure that out since the easement size will be the same.
Yep.
That's all I have. So happy to stand for any questions anybody might have.
I'm good.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I lost my video.
Sharon did.
We can
Yeah,
see you.
I'm
We
just
can
looking
see
at the word Zoom now.
We see you.
Really? Okay. So I'll just keep going. Did anybody have any further questions or comments? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to recommend approval of the changes proposed by the staff and acceptance of a combination of parkland, off-road trail easements, and cash in lieu of land to satisfy the park dedication requirements. Could I get a motion?
And if you're on board with the changes that staff recommended as well. Right, Brad? That was part of it?
Yes,
It
I think that
wasn't
was
listed on.
incorporated with what Chair Meister just kind of walked through there, I think.
I don't think we had it on the motion on the.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna try this. Okay, looking for a motion.
I'll motion.
Second,
I will second.
okay. I will vote aye. Christensen,
I'll vote aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman, Nybo,
Wait, I want to do the thumbs up.
Streller. Yeah, do the thumbs up. And Judy.
Aye.
Okay, motion has passed. Okay, and then we're looking at open space and preservation plat for Paulson Farms. Brad's gonna present a staff report.
Yes, thank you. Another development on the agenda tonight, and Jess, I'll wait to have you put the PowerPoint up there for that. So this is a very different development in greater or western Corcoran, essentially, at County Road 30 and Bechtold Road. It's an open space and preservation plat.
There it is.
There we go. So it's an 83-acre parcel, but really only the northern half is proposed with this development, and we'll show that later. It's proposing 20 lots and 4 outlots, and to do that, we do require 50% of the land be preserved. At least half of that must be upland. And then really it's preserved until, not forever, but until really when water and sewer comes in the future. So additional development could take place at that time, which would be past 2040. As mentioned here, it appears to comply, but there's some updated items that need to be addressed with the conditions of approval. Next slide. So this is it. The north is County Road 30. On the west of it is Bechtold Road. And so it's kind of a connection does come out to Bechtold. However, there's no proposed road connection at that point. Next slide. So this is it. We do not have a minimum lot size. We have a maximum lot size of 4 acres. I believe most of these are between 1 and 4 acres. You can see it's accessed off of County Road 30. There's a cul-de-sac that goes towards Bechtold Road. There's some challenging topographical features out that direction. And it's just the northern half. On the southern half, what that is, it's a ghost plat, just to show how future development could take place at some point in the future when water and sewer services are available. So it's a future item. We would actually plan to have that north-south road actually connect down to County Road 10. So there would be an access point off of County Road 10 to the south, County Road 30 to the north, and then we're stubbing a road connection to the east so the adjacent development could be attached to this as well. So there's 10 development rights on the property. One per 10 essentially is our building right program there. However, you can double them through this open space and preservation plat process. So they go from 10 to 20 by dedicating the open space. So The lots there average from 1.13 to 4 acres in size. I guess I just walked that earlier. There's 4 outlots. A, C, and D are on the perimeter, and would allow future development. They'll be owned by the Homeowners Association, which is HOA. And outlot B is that southern portion that I talked about that's ghost platted for the future. So again, this is it. You see here little lots that are easier to see, as well as the outlots. And there'll be some trail amenities that are private to this homeowners association, at least for the time being. In the future, when development surrounds it, maybe there's some connection opportunities for public connections as well. So the reason this is coming to the Parks and Trails Commission for the most part is that in our comp plan, we show an athletic search area in this location. And we've had several of those throughout the community, and we weren't going to have several of them at this point. However, there were areas to look at. Since the city purchased the land from the Rockford School District, we feel we have that location for the time being, and we no longer need this as an athletic search area. So we're recommending cash in lieu, so that it comes to about $93,000. As I mentioned earlier, there's a private wood trip trail as well. So really that's the decision point for the Parks and Trails Commission. So we're looking for a recommendation to approve the cash in lieu for this specific development, and we can answer any questions.
I think I might have a question. If someone else does, go ahead.
Go ahead, Val.
I gotta get to my page and look. So, okay, it was a search area, right? When we went and did this, we looked at different places that we possibly could have a bigger park, now, or athletic park.
Correct.
Okay, we've got one in town. Okay, but with all this development, and say water and sewer goes through there, eventually we're going to need possibly a bigger park on the other end of town. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This one's right in town. On the southeast end, and to put something out further eventually. I'm thinking way out, you guys. I'm not thinking, even 2040, but I just don't want to lose, thought on the fact that we might need something else out that direction, because there's nothing.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. And we were intentional about actually leaving those search areas on the map, even though we found the Rockford School District site, just for that reason. So at this point, we're thinking maybe it's the next comp plan we update it and see where another for sure park should go for athletic space. But in this moment in time, we were thinking we could let this one go, knowing that other options still exist in Corcoran, because there's 20,000 some odd acres that are still available at some point in the future.
Because if we're looking at an athletic search area, the one off 19 over here, and that's the trailhead. So that's the original Relke property, isn't it? Which is done and gone. Or is that property else still?
It's still owned by the family as far as I know, and it's farmed still.
Because I thought I saw a for sale sign right around our Public Works building.
Yeah, there's that home that's on there that's for sale. That's actually a different lot. That's not attached to the Relke property.
Okay. So, but that one could go fairly soon is what I'm saying. Okay. And then we've got this one on the north. And then we've got one, 2 other ones. One's way to the south, and one's. It leaves us, not that we can't look again, but it leaves us with not too much in that northern area for true future. Does that make sense, guys? I'm not saying this development can't go through because we got the circle there. I'm not saying that, but it's just, I think it's something we need to keep in mind.
It's a perfect point to bring up, and I'll also mention we don't have any planned neighborhood parks outside of the MUSA, the Metropolitan Urban Service Area. That's the black line that goes mostly easterly and southerly. As that line expands, we will be planning more neighborhood parks in different areas in that MUSA as it expands too. But yeah, there are going to be fewer and fewer opportunities. I'm sure there's a couple large acre lots near Strehler Road that'll be available.
What, okay. Well, I just, like I said, something we should keep in mind. Oh, my other quick question was, is there a reason there's no minimum lot size? When they go from what was it, 1.3 to, what was the other one, up to
4.
4?
1.13 up to 4. I don't know the answer to that question. That'd be
I mean, a
plan.
1.3 is not much bigger than a normal city lot, sitting there with its own septic system. Isn't
I'll
that-
follow up with you on that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I lived, you know, in the cities or whatever, I mean, ours was like, our lot was like an acre, and you know, that's not much more than that to have a septic and all that. I don't know. I think if they're sitting out in the middle of nowhere, they should have little bigger lots. Just because I love mowing so much. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Okay,
Just-
so the chair will entertain a motion to recommend approval of land dedication to the plan. Oh, am I reading the wrong thing? Are we talking about a trail easement? Brad?
I think it's all cash in lieu of, isn't it, on this one?
Yeah, so the motion, if you want to put the
Okay.
slide up there, Jess, or if Sharon can see it, but essentially it's to recommend cash in lieu for
Okay.
this development.
Okay. All right, so can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I can second it.
Okay. I vote aye. Christensen,
Aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman, Nybo,
Aye.
and Strehler.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right. Park dedication reevaluation. Brad gets to present again.
Yes. So, chair members, every time we update the comp plan, we also need to update our park dedication ordinance and fee. And we do it more often than that, however. For example, I talked earlier about the land values in Corcoran. So each year the city assessor gives us an updated land value, and then we input that and update our fee. But with the comp plan, we move stuff around. We add parks, move parks, change language on what's in parks, we add trails. So we have to update the park dedication calculation because of that. This was a pretty substantial effort this time. We actually went and Jessica did a lot of the work. We actually said what's going to be in each park roughly, and then she found average costs of different units and we put those in. So we planned what the actual park cost would be for the parks that we're going to build in the MUSA between now and 2040. So we kind of guessed on that. So we included the open space park in Ravinia, the town square park, of 2 phases of city park, the Bellwether neighborhood park, Bellwether open space park. There's a planned park by Shuddy Road. And Jess, what am I missing as far as parks? It's not in this presentation. You're not going to find it here. Anyway, it's a much more thorough allocation
The
of what
linear
resources.
park?
Oh, the linear park as well. On top of that, it does include costs for all of the trails in Corcoran. So not only in the MUSA, all of the MUSA, outside the MUSA as well. And we also made an assumption that 10% of our off-road trails would be boardwalks. Knowing what we know now, and with our wetlands in Corcoran, that increased the likely cost of future park amenities as well. So I should probably stick to the slides here. It's probably confusing for Jess. So
I don't know where you're at.
I'm winging it. So I'll go through here. So again, here includes addition of cost estimates that are not planned for boardwalks. We also included 3 overpasses or underpasses, I believe, that weren't included previously. And then estimates were used for the future park improvements. Next slide. So this is the proposed changes here. We're looking at updating our park dedication fee from about $4,000 per unit to $4,600 per unit. It's a fairly significant change. It increases the cost of every house in Corcoran coming in by about $700, so we don't take it lightly. But we do feel that it's a new development driving these needs in the community and they should pay for it. So that's where this is coming from. So we kind of dedicate these by category. So there's different fees by different uses. And this is how it's outlined in that table there. I don't know a lot of detail related to that. I'm really focused on making sure that we have the planned amenities and making sure we have the mechanism to pay for them as we do here. So looking for just some feedback tonight. It actually has to have a formal public hearing at the June 4th Planning Commission meeting because it's an ordinance amendment. And then the council will look at approving on June 11th. And we wanted to rush it and do it now and get it adopted before these developments came through with their final plats. So they would pay this new fee. So with that, looking for a recommendation to approve the park dedication fees and the ordinance modifying the code as outlined in the report.
Do we know what the park dedication fees are for other cities around us?
Yeah, they're all over the place. I can tell you that. I'd say we're fairly middle of the road. They can be as high as, $8,000 to $9,000 in some areas and very low as well. So I'd say we're middle-ish.
And would you say that Corcoran's more of a in-demand area for builders, meaning they want to build here because of other reasons besides all of the park fees?
It's really hard to say. Corcoran's really unique in that it's on one end fairly affordable to do development because it's fields. There's not redevelopment taking place. However, there's no infrastructure, so they have to drag a pipe, which is incredibly expensive for every development they do. There's a lack of housing. All the data show that. Obviously, people are buying in Corcoran. Through May 13th of this year, we've had 88 new home permits that came in. Last year we had 158 in all of 2019. In the most recent calendar, or most recent 12 months, May of 19 through April of this year, it's been 192 new home permits. In May alone this month of this year, May last year we had 4 new home permits. Through May 13th of this year, we had 16. So I'd say we're in demand, but it's still very expensive to do development in Corcoran.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I see it too. Like, we're right next to Maple Grove. We're kind of the next step going west, or at least one of the next steps. So if any builders want to, they're looking at us. And I don't know, have we considered that when we come up with this fee? It sounds like we're just saying, hey, here's our expected park costs and everything that goes into that. So here's how much we're going to need. But just because that's what we need doesn't mean that's not what it's worth, right? If we can increase the park dedication fee, I don't necessarily see it slowing growth. So especially if interest rates stay low like they are, we might be under market for park dedication fees.
Well, I would say, even though we're increasing it, I don't feel that it will stop someone from building a home. If you're building a home, even at $200,000, if you're changing the fee by $700, that's probably not going to be a deal breaker. The only
yeah, right, and that's what I mean. I think the fee should be higher.
Well, we would have to change the comp plan and add more amenities in our parks plan. This is by statute. We can only include what we have in our plans, and we, the Parks and Trail Commission, completely control that. No one else is telling us what to put in our plan. It's what we chose to put in our own plan. And then we have to assign costs to that and then divide it out per statute. So this is something that you have to do extremely well, or else it opens you up for lawsuits. So if we don't follow exact code and follow our comp plan and have a very defendable approach, this puts us in a legally not
Okay.
a situation.
Okay, that all makes sense. So maybe redoing the comp plan, that's a whole nother discussion. So
Well, and I forgot to, I was going to mention this. So I'm glad you brought it up. Already we're finding we probably need to include some things. I had a conversation, I think, with Chair Meister and I know Councilmember Anderson about, when we update to our 2050 comp plan, which will start in 2027, so stay on the commission. Maybe we should be putting in, we need to purchase high quality natural areas. So maybe we need to put $5 million, I don't know, pick that $2 million in our park dedication fee. So when these things come up or before development comes, hey, we've identified this as a natural area, we should be buying that now. So it never gets developed and it's never even part of the conversation. So I envision that being the next tier of our next update, is picking some land areas that we want to just keep for nature and including those costs as well, potentially.
okay, yeah, that all makes sense. I just wasn't quite sure how that all plays out.
Well, doesn't that fall into our open space circles we have got going already? Brad?
Somewhat.
Yeah,
But I think there's more nuance than that. I think each of you know better than I that there's a few areas that are maybe just really neat areas that aren't large 40-acre pieces, but maybe it's 5 acres here, 5 acres there that are real gems that should be kept as areas. I don't know.
sure. Sharon would know. Tom would know.
We can go out right now. Mark them off.
And when was the last time we changed park dedication fees?
We look at them every year, but I think the last fairly decent change was in 2016, so not all that long ago.
Right. Well, 4 years. Okay,
Okay.
I'm good.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll go over the motion again. I'll entertain a motion to recommend approval of new park dedication fees and the ordinance buying section 955. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay, a second.
I will second.
Okay. Roll call vote. I'll vote aye. Christensen,
I'll vote aye.
Dugan,
Aye.
Hoffman, Nybo,
Aye.
and Streller.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has passed. Oh, I can hear myself. Okay, number 9 on the agenda, reports and active planning applications, informational only. Any questions about the active planning applications?
Question.
Val?
We're really getting an Eagle Brook Church? Anybody?
Yeah, so we did receive the formal application actually this week, but they came with the concept for Eagle Brook Church. It's really at the very southeast corner of the city, so Hackamore and 101.
How much land is that? You know?
It's nearly 40 acres,
Okay.
so 35 or so acres. Cities have very little authority for saying no to churches. There's something called the Religious Land Use Protection Act, or RLUPA. And really, they're allowed in, zoning districts. We don't Corcoran does not allow them in commercial and industrial districts at this point, but they're allowed in every residential district. So it's one of those things. The council's thought a lot about it and what the pros and cons are. You could say the cons are this is taking about 40 acres up in the Wayzata school district potentially. The opposite viewpoint of that is the sooner that the Wayzata school district is used up, that means residential development has to go to Rockford. And that's where we need growth to actually happen, to get a school, to get amenities, those types of things. So there's that view. There's a view that this is a big church and it's going to drive a lot of traffic. And from that standpoint, I don't think you could pick a better spot as far as less impacts to Corcoran. You're going to come in, touch Corcoran, and get out. And I think that has little inputs that way. So, yeah, it's a lot to look at, but they're excited to be here, and they've been really good to work with.
So you said, and this is just for my own informational purpose here, that churches are allowed basically wherever. I mean, could all of Corcoran fill with churches and now we have no property tax money coming in? You know what I mean?
This town, yeah. I mean, it's one of those. My biggest concern with this, honestly, was whether if they found land within our town center and ate up 35 acres of our town center with the church. That was my biggest scare, and I worked really hard with them to encourage that to not happen. Because that's our gem. But I mean, we really can't do much about it. I don't see us having, 100 churches in Corcoran, at least not until we have 100 bars.
Love it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions or comments on the planning applications?
And that Sawgrass one is still a go?
It appears to be on life support at this point, but it's not.
Still? Okay.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. On recreation coordinator update, Jess.
I feel like Brad did most of the talking this meeting, and it was kind of a nice change of pace.
Kind of awesome, huh?
First of all, really excited, like I said, to see your guys' faces. It's very nice. As far as things I've been up to, baseball. I got the whole season ready to go, and I was just about to hit send to the coaches, and then COVID-19 happened, so I ended up not running baseball, as I'm sure you guys could assume or saw on Facebook, Twitter, the website, you name it. So that was unfortunate. We did have quite a few participants signed up, about 270 or so. So hurt a little bit, but it's going to be okay. We're going to make it through. Next thing was Country Days. I've been attending those meetings just to kind of see where I need to start planning a beanbag tournament or where I should pull back. My big thing though, along with COVID-19, I have been taken in by the police department, and I am now the Emergency Operations Center manager because they felt that adding more words to my name was a good idea. It wasn't long enough. So I go to a lot of meetings. I have done quite a few FEMA trainings, so the Federal Emergency Management Association. I'm learning a whole bunch on reimbursements for costs associated with COVID. Emergency management as a whole, I am now, I don't want to say well-versed, but I know more about it now than I did 2 months ago. Other things, I put together your Parks and Trails packets for those of you who got the physical copy. I also put together the digital ones too, though. I helped out with the tree giveaway, not actually handing out the trees, but the back side of things. So I will say Tom was wonderful to work with. I have been attending many COVID Minnesota Recreation and Park Association conference calls to try and keep up with what other cities are doing. So many of you know we closed the playgrounds for quite a while. And that was a very common move throughout the state and the country. It was actually recommended by NRPA to not allow people on the playgrounds. So we kind of like to follow what everyone else is doing as well, just to try and keep everyone safe. And then I've also been overseeing social media. So if you enjoy any of the Facebook posts, that's yours truly, almost always.
Yes.
Finally, soccer. I have postponed registration again in unprecedented times, which I'm sure we're all sick of hearing. It just made a little more sense than, hey, everyone come register, and then we end up having to refund. There's the possibility of that. So just waiting until things settle down a little bit more to make a solid decision on that, and maybe looking at alternative ways to run the program. So it might not look like it has in past years where it's everyone come out on 2 days a week. It might look like, let's spread it out a little bit so that we don't have 700 people at the park at one time, which a year ago was not something that people were concerned about. Oh, Alicia clapped. That's so special. So that's kind of what I've got. Does anyone have questions on that? Otherwise, I was also going to provide a EOC COVID update as it relates to parks and trails as well.
Get it?
Super. So playgrounds are now open. People seem to like that on social media. So we do have signs out there that say play at your own risk, and that the playgrounds are not disinfected. If we were to try and disinfect the playgrounds, that's not good for the materials that they're made with. It could really lessen the lifespan. Additionally, we don't really have the staff to do that. And as soon as you disinfect it and one kid gets out there and they're either asymptomatic or they're snotting all over the place, and it's kind of a moot point. So in addition to that, we are not taking shelter or field reservations. The shelter has less of an impact, as we did only have the one reservation this year so far, and they decided to move it to next year. So they were proactive. I didn't even have to contact them. Kudos to them. And then we also had field reservations, but they are currently postponed until we have a little more guidance from some of the athletic associations are working to put together a plan to present to the governor so they can play safely. And as you know, with 10 people as the maximum amount of congregating individuals, that's not really a lot you can't really do much with that. So questions, comments, concerns, advice, given or received. I will also provide some if you want. Super.
Nice job, dear.
Way to be flexible.
Awesome work.
Many, many hats.
Yeah, I
Good
will
job,
just,
Jess.
if I can, it's been a great opportunity to bring Jess over. If you know her, she's very detail oriented and she follows through very well. And when you're in an emergency situation and working with every department and coordinating what Public Works is doing and police and how much personal protective equipment you have, and you're looking at burn rates, and there's a lot that goes into this, from finances to every operation. So being able to have Jess and move her over was a lifesaver for us, and she's doing a great job.
Little did I know
Fabulous.
that when I accepted a full-time position as a recreation coordinator, I would not actually do it for more than a month.
You didn't get too comfortable that way.
I mean, I like to live life on the edge anyways. It's fine.
There you go.
It fits your lifestyle.
I'm honored. It has been an eye-opening experience, and I don't want to use the word fun, but it's been enjoyable to learn about the emergency management side of things.
Good.
Very cool. All right. Moving on to our city council report from Tom Anderson.
Hi, it's nice to see everybody. It's been a little weird being on the city council since the beginning of the year. I'm adapting as best I can. It's been pretty weird just for the city council meeting remotely after the first couple of meetings, but we are getting used to it, and the physical setup changes regularly, and it's much better now. The first couple of meetings, Brad and the mayor were just little pinpoints of light about 5 miles away, so now we can see them. So it's good. There have been several things that we've been working on, and these are the ones that have come to mind. We have had the presentation from Three River Parks on the trail, and the city and the council is, I think, generally really pretty happy with it. It's viewed as a real opportunity for the city. They have always a concern for snowmobiling. And so if you want a trail, then you always can expect the question, can we snowmobile on it? And if we can't, why can't we? So just as you're thinking about trails, that's something that the city council always asks about and expects a good answer back. Another major project, and you know, the trail is very quickly turns into all the details. Where does it cross the road? Whose property is it next to? And those, and especially, well, and so as you hear, maybe you're near the trail. If it concerns you, then the city council needs to know about it, because it is all details in the end. So that, keep that always in mind. There's been a lot of work on the Hackamore Road rebuild. We're partnering with Medina to do that, and that's a big deal. Hackamore Road is pretty low, designed for much lower traffic than it has received, and we're at the stage where we're looking at various options for, do we have turn lanes, or do we have a center turn lane, a couple different main designs, and that there was a open house presentation, an open house Tuesday on that, which residents were notified of who live near there, and they have a variety of questions. Almost always, how does the road affect my lot and the view out my window, and you know, those real detailed sort of questions. It's moving forward. It seems to be doing well. I feel like Kevin's doing just a stellar job of kind of representing Corcoran. He is just on top of the whole thing. So I just feel like that's really in good hands. Another big exciting detail has been the City Hall remodel, which is sort of the project that never gets better. It's the City Hall is not adequate for a city of our size. It was adequate when we built it, but the city has grown, and the City Hall has not. So we need to add some more office space, more room for the police. The bids are a lot. It's you know, it's the lowest bid is, I think, something over $1 million for the remodel, and the city council that's a lot of zeros, you know, at the end of that $1 million, and so it really gets a lot of very fine attention, and is hard for city council members to feel like they can spend that much money on a remodel. So we are working our way through that, and once you decide you do need to remodel and you need a certain amount of office space, you can kind of fiddle with it all you want, but it still costs a lot of money. And so we can't get it for nothing is kind of what it comes down to. But we're working on that. Park fees. Our discussion here was great. You know, that we design our park, and then we figure out how much it costs, and then we decide how we're going to pay for it with those various park fees. I do know that the homeowners association has had something of a scream early in the legislative session, saying that makes housing unaffordable. And Brad was on top of things, expressing to our local state legislators that, you know, we get what we pay for. This is an important part of the city function, that these figures are not padded. This is not designed to make housing or to make houses unaffordable. It is designed to provide an environment in which cities can flourish. And I very, very much appreciated that. I think the city council is pretty much with us on that. You know, those fees are high. It is a lot of money. But it's kind of the cost of doing business. If we're going to have a park system, which we're proud of in the future, then we need to pay for it. And you have to pay for it at the beginning, you know, at least a chunk of it. So that's kind of the way that it goes. Otherwise, the emergency preparedness and work has been headed up by Brad and Matt and then with Jessica on the staff, and you know, they have been just stellar. It has felt like Corcoran is sort of leading the pack of small town Hennepin County in being ready for this thing. Preparation off Corcoran often partnering with other nearby cities to make sure that we have good coverage. You face the problem of we could lose, if we lose two police officers get sick, we can hardly do the job, you know, and so what happens then? And those plans are in place. Matt was great about getting a lot of protective equipment early on before people figured out that they needed it. So that has not been an issue for Corcoran, at least not yet, I guess. And so far we haven't had a lot of much in the way of infection, but you know, that could change just about any time. So I think that we're about as well prepared as a town can be. So Brad and Matt have done a great job, and Jessica is supporting that just very admirably. It's been impressive to watch. There's been no racing around. This is not the chicken with its head cut off kind of situation. This is folks making a plan and sticking to it and following through on it. So that's been impressive. So just on a personal level, I've had a couple calls from city residents with questions, and they have been very, very pleasant. Folks, they're not mad at me. They have a question or an issue, and they are happy to talk about it. And they've been and so it's been a very respectful conversation, easier than I maybe thought it would be. And I would be always happy to talk to you guys about, you know, the road in front of your house, or where the water is not draining away properly when it rains, or you know, whatever your issue is, and happy to have you sound me out on parks and trails issues as well. I guess we can do that since we'd be only just the two of us. So it's you know, that's been fine. That's been good. I've made a few notes to carry back to City Hall. I am the liaison between the Parks and Trails Commission and the City Council. And so if there's something that you need to have me liaise, let me know, and I'll carry that information back and forth. Parks and Trails has high credibility with the City Council. They want you guys to dig in at every possible opportunity to have strong opinions about what you think these developments should look like, to ask hard questions of developers, to ask hard questions of staff, to ask hard questions of the City Council. That's how this all is supposed to work. And so don't feel anxious about saying, you know, I don't understand this, or I don't think this is quite right. Ask those questions. Make yourself known. It all leads to, in a good way. Do it pleasantly, please, but be forceful. You know, kind of pound the table if you feel like it, if you need to. So I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes.
The council meeting back on April 23rd, there's letters of support for something being done on 19 and 117. What are they thinking of something there?
19 and 117 is that awful so-called intersection, that death trap of a road system we've got there. And that is up for review by the county. And there was a question, we are in support of that.
Or like a maybe or something?
Pardon?
Like a stoplight or something like that?
You know, the county has a pretty rigorous process for designing intersections, and I don't think we were going to try and second guess that process.
Where their signs should go, right?
Yeah, how the sign. The question would always be, how much money does Corcoran have to pay as their share?
Sure.
And I don't remember just how that went. And since we were talking about it, there's also the so-called intersection of 19 and 30.
Okay.
There's that funny merge lane that's there. That maybe this would be a good time for the county to look at that as well. So it was just well, Brad, you may remember more about that.
Well, I just want to jump in and say it's the county is looking for different funding sources to help buy down the cost of improvements there. So they're applying for funds for program years, I want to say 2023, 2024, 2025. So this is applications to get in a funding system for improvement a couple of years down the road if it all works out the best it could.
I mean, I feel like I'm nitpicking, but Corcoran people don't use that one a whole lot. It's a pass through to get,
It's pass.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's in our community and we should pay for it or something, but maybe we could talk to Hanover and St. Michael. No.
In the letter that council approved basically said that.
Oh, did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did, yeah.
Intersection absolutely needs improvement. We support the project 100%. However, not our problem.
It's not our folks. Yeah, not our problem. Yep.
Well, I thought I was nicer than that.
Yeah. You know, since while you were talking, I remembered there was something else I really did want to say. The city council has had some meetings with outside experts to talk about our strategic plan. There's a tendency, city councils can become entirely reactive. Somebody brings something and then we respond to it, either a problem or an opportunity or something. But Corcoran would like to do better than that, and so we would like to have a strategic plan, and and we've got one now that we finally approved. It has various core strategies, it has strategic objectives, and then short-term goals, and then action steps. And this is something that Brad can put on his wall, so that every time we do something, every time we take an action step, we can check that off as doing it. And if there are things that we aren't getting done, then we can ask the question, why aren't we? And if there's some strategic objective that we're not getting anything done on, is it the wrong objective, or what's the hindrance? It was in the packet from the last city council meeting. It's a couple 3 pages. It's not a big document. But I did want to say that the third one of those core strategies is to provide diverse community amenities and recreational opportunities. And so that is one of the very primary functions, goals of the city of Corcoran, and that directly relates to the Parks and Trails Commission, because it's providing high quality parks that are unique, innovative, and accessible. Plan and connect multi-seasonal and multi-use trail systems, practice land and natural resource stewardship, develop an aesthetically pleasing, visually attractive community, and incorporate existing natural resources into development and recreational opportunities. So that's a big chunk of what the city does, and that's kind of all in your basket of responsibility. So, Brad, can we make sure that the commission members have that document?
If I may, I have a feeling that Brad's going to say, JCB, would you mind sending
Yeah,
that over to the commission?
Sorry, Jessica. Yes, Jessica, can you see that the commission members get that?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
It'll be next week, likely.
I lost my controls for muting and unmuting, so I had to find them again. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Well, that was the pause I needed to ask the right person for stuff. Yeah.
Brad, would you say I took the words right out of your mouth, or?
Actually, no, I wasn't thinking about that, but it was a great time for me to pause and not speak. So thank you.
Shoot.
Good fake out. All right.
Now I'm done.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Moving on to the Garden Club report.
Hey,
The
actually, Tom, I
giveaway
just had
was
one-
unique.
Did we ever hear back on whether or not we can do any bonding for our parks, like Central Park potentially?
Well, as a matter of course, I believe we can. Yeah, there's was that a question that popped up before?
Yeah,
Before?
Sorry, I thought we had talked about it, I think back February or January or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought we weren't quite sure if we could or not. So, because that'll kind of, as we think about parks and where we spend our money, that might help.
Yeah, I can just jump in. Legally, we absolutely can. It's a policy consideration of issuing debt for certain things. So it's really a policy level discussion.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Tom, did you want to talk about the tree giveaway real quick?
Yeah, Jessica got this wonderful online registration system, which worked wonderfully. And then, of course, yeah, applause. Yeah, people seem to be able to do it really pretty well, very well, actually. And
My husband said that some people just came and held up their name,
yeah,
so they didn't have to talk.
they didn't have to roll the window down. They didn't have to do anything. We had a small crew. Sharon and her husband Jeff and
Susan
Nelson. The four of us bagged all of the orders for trees, and then stapled the order, and we had people coming at various times to pick up the trees. And
What was the date on that, Tom?
it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Saturday. It's still a Saturday morning. It was Mother's Day weekend, fishing opener weekend.
Okay. Oh boy, and everybody showed up.
So we had they
Not
never do.
everybody showed up.
So there were a bunch of orders that weren't picked up, and those get brought. We bring them to my house, and I send out an email, and then people come and pick them up. I've still got, I don't know, 8 or 9 orders sitting out on the stoop in front of the house. I have potted those trees up so that maybe they'll live. But it was really successful. People liked it, and everybody maintained. I don't think we made anybody sick. We managed to do it in a very appropriate COVID-19 way. So
good job.
It worked out really well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Park dedication fund. You need to do anything with that? Okay. Other business and announcements. Okay. Number 12, Commissioner Liaison Calendar. Let's see, Jess.
Yeah, I just want to update that Jess, you can do that. Sorry, go ahead.
See, this is why you need the enhanced agenda. So moving forward, it's on there. Moving forward, seeing as the meetings have been digital, the question is whether or not you guys want to discuss attending, or not whether or not you want to discuss attending, please discuss attending council meetings, and if that's something that you guys would be interested in, and getting back on schedule with the liaison calendar. So I've attached, I just continued it on from the prior one that you guys had seen back in February. And so that's it. How do you guys feel about attending council meetings so that you can bring that information back here?
Well, we have Tom.
Well, and you can put your 2 cents in too. Brad, would they be given the video link or would they be calling in?
Yeah, I just want to add that. So it'd be videoing in as a council member. So right now, if you're an applicant, staff, or council member, you get the video link like this. For everyone else, we're asking and giving out a phone number to call in and listen to. And the whole thing is just not to muck up the screen with too many people on it. So we would be giving the video link to whoever would be the liaison, and they could attend virtually, and they could mute their video and just, make phone calls like Judy, or whatever they want to do.
I'm sorry. I'll tell you after the end why.
But I guess the one thing is we could just keep you on the list and inviting you, and if you make it, you make it, and if you don't, you don't. I think it could be that level, but it's really up to the commission. And however, if maybe some people feel really strongly, yeah, I want to do that, and others say, I absolutely don't want to do that. Maybe we know that too and can handle meetings that way. So, but the council just really wants to keep communication open as much as possible, even though there is a pandemic.
I guess I'm not quite sure why that would change. Anything, it's kind of easier to jump on a Zoom meeting, but.
You should have seen me trying to get on.
I'm glad you gave me good advice.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if we get the link and it's our turn, like you said, if you can do it, fine. If you can't, I mean, because you're just sitting on mute pretty much, other than the beginning of the meeting when they introduce you, and you can be like, you don't have to be on camera, do you?
Well, you could hit the mute the video and just be listening in and try to remember, and I'll maybe yell loud, Val, they're talking about you, so you can listen. Important parts are for some reason there, but I guess maybe if it's okay, we'll just invite people, and all I ask is if it's your turn and you can't make it or don't want to, let us know and we'll let the others know so they could choose to fill in for you if you wanted to. So if that's acceptable, maybe we'll approach it that way.
Sounds good.
Okay. How would
Can
we
I-
contact everybody? Brad, how would we contact everybody? Because I don't have everybody's emails or anything.
So at the staff level, I guess my vision would be, so say Alicia can't do next week, she'd just let maybe Jessica know. And then
Okay.
Jessica
Through
could email the
Jessica.
commission and say, hey, no one's, Alicia's not able to attend, would somebody else be willing to? And we can
Okay. Sounds good.
2 things. One, Alicia said she is good with it. She sent a little chat. I don't know if you guys saw that. Second thing, just because it kind of relates, how you all received your packets, whether it be physical or digital, were you good with that course of action? I think you all received it digitally as well, but if you got a physical one, do you want to continue to receive the physical one?
I need a physical one.
I do
Me
too.
too.
Sure.
'Cause I can look at it as we're going along.
Yeah,
How would I
me too.
ever look at it on the computer?
I had some issues with the PDF, with the large pages. So I'm not, maybe it's just me. So I might need a physical one for the next time.
I mean, we're nobody's trying to waste paper, but
Right. But if we're looking at the council ones too, I just figure if I have to pass that information on to Michelle, I'll give her the most current preferences.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is everybody good with the dates on the calendar so far?
Is it still Thursdays? No, what day is the council meeting?
Yep, Thursday.
Thursdays.
Thursdays, yeah.
Is August 13th a Thursday? 14, 15. Okay, anyway, that might be, depending on what's going on with our country days that we're all pretty much unsure of. I might have an issue, but let's let it ride at this point.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we'll be meeting before that too.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Bill.
A second?
Second.
Okay. I will vote aye. Christensen?
Aye.
Dugan?
Aye,
Hoffman?
looking for a chat bubble.
Naivo?
Aye.
And Steller.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
Crazy. Thank
Good
you for
job.
making
Thank
it,
you.
Alicia.
Thank you.
Now I got to figure out where that video saved.